A man sneaked into a girl's house to collect a debt, but strangely, the girl acted like she didn't see him, just clutching a piece of moldy bread and retreating to a corner to eat. The man ignored her and kept searching around, but after combing through the entire place, he found nothing. In a harsh tone, he asked where she had hidden all the valuable things, but the girl gave no response at all. After several rounds of questioning and testing, he finally realized the girl was deaf and blind, a person with both visual and hearing impairments. For a moment he softened, unsure whether to keep searching, because the girl's mom owed him a lot of money and had been killed in an accident at work. As the acting team leader, the man had gone to the hospital to visit her, but unexpectedly found that the woman was already a cold corpse. Since no relatives of the deceased could be found, the police gave the man the mom's belongings. He felt incredibly frustrated, not knowing how to recover the debt, so he followed the address to her home, hoping to find something valuable to cover the debt. But after searching, he came up empty-handed. He had no choice but to pin his hopes on the girl's dad. After learning of his wife's death, the man didn't show an ounce of grief. Instead, he cursed him out and said they had divorced long ago, then hung up. The man stood on the balcony smoking in frustration. The girl smelled the familiar cigarette smoke and thought her mom had come back. She pounded hard on the floor to signal her mom to hurry over. Confused, the man leaned closer, and the girl threw herself into his arms. Only when she touched his face did she suddenly realize he wasn't her mom. She immediately screamed in terror. The scream quickly drew the landlord's attention. To avoid complications, the man had to open the door to the female landlord outside. But before he could explain, the landlord assumed he was the girl's father and scolded him with the nastiest words, saying he was a terrible dad and urged him to pay next month's rent soon. Otherwise, at the end of the month she'd return his deposit and make him move out with the girl. Hearing there was still a deposit to get back, the man instantly saw hope. He played along and said he was the girl's father, promising to move out the following month. Seeing that the landlord didn't suspect anything, he felt secretly pleased, thinking the deposit was as good as his. Unexpectedly, when he got back to his place, his luggage had already been thrown out because he couldn't afford to renew the lease. His first thought was to temporarily stay at the girl's house until he got the deposit in a month, then find a new place to rent. The girl felt the leather shoes by the door and knew they weren't her mom's. It meant that man was back again. Terrified, she grabbed a piece of bread and hid in the corner to eat. Perhaps out of pity, the man ordered 2 servings of jajang noodles and handed one to the girl. Smelling the aroma, the girl swallowed hard many times, but in the end didn't take a single bite. In her mind, this man was still dangerous. To ease the girl's fears, he deliberately hid the shoes by the door so she'd think he'd left, then threw away all the moldy bread. But when the girl couldn't find bread on the table, her emotions collapsed and she broke into tears. The man quickly brought the jajang noodles, signaling they were better, but the girl swatted them away. Finally losing patience, he vented his anger in the nastiest words. But seeing the girl cry, he couldn't help but soften and went to buy fresh bread for her. When she smelled the fresh bread, the girl suddenly sensed that maybe the man wasn't so bad. Following the scent of the noodles, she came to him, and without ceremony scooped up the noodles with her hands and ate. Though annoyed, the man let her have the noodles, and ate bread himself to fill up. From then on, the girl gradually lowered her guard. She believed her mom would be back soon, and that this man must have been hired by her mom to take care of her. But unfortunately, the man couldn't do even basic housework, so she called a cleaner. The place was soon spotless, and the girl slowly accepted him. At night, she would lean against him to sleep, something she used to do only with her mom. Now, when she missed her mom, she could only cling to the man. Maybe the longing was too heavy, and the girl suddenly vomited non-stop. The man carried her to the hospital overnight, but the hospital was already closed. He carried her like that the entire night. From that day, the girl grew more and more dependent on the man, and the man's feelings for the girl became more genuine. He paid out of pocket to send the girl to a special school, but when the teacher learned she was both deaf and blind, they refused to enroll her. Unwilling to give up, the man bought simple text toys and taught her to read and write using direct touch. The girl was bright and learned quickly each time, except she always misspelled dad as bread. Just then, court officers showed up, seizing all the property in the girl's home on account of unpaid debt, including that rental deposit. That was the man's only hope, now shattered without warning, until he found his mom's memo and saw that the girl's aunt still owed $3,000 in loans. It was undoubtedly the only lifeline in their predicament. So he set off with the girl and his mom's ashes on a journey to find family, which would also become a journey of mutual redemption for him and the girl. Without the aunt's exact address, he could only ask around, but days passed with no results. Their dry food supply slowly ran out. With no money left, he stole a watermelon from a melon shed when no one was around. He thought he'd pulled it off perfectly, not knowing it had been captured clearly on camera. It was the first time the girl had ever eaten watermelon. The man spit the seeds into her palm, signaling that the seeds shouldn't be eaten, but the girl playfully spat them onto his face. In the afternoon, rain began to fall. Exhausted, the man just wanted to rest in the car, but the girl kept pestering him to go out and play. Unable to resist, he agreed reluctantly. The cool breeze by the river, the refreshing raindrops, the earthy fragrance mixed with the freshness of grass. These beauties of nature shone like a beam of light into the girl's dark world, and subtly changed touched the man's heart. He would use every trick to amuse the girl, gently take her hand, let her sense what things look like, and patiently teach her to write their names in his palm. Meanwhile, the melon field owner had tracked them down. Faced with solid evidence, the man had no way to refute it. Unable to pay, he worked off the debt with physical labor in the shed. Seeing his diligence, the woman didn't dwell on the theft, and even invited them to share a meal. The girl chewed her food thoroughly, then spit some out and held it to the man's mouth. Not understanding, he rejected it with disgust. An old man nearby explained that was a child's way of showing love. Only people they truly cherish would share what they think is delicious. Hearing that, the man fell silent. Growing up, no one had ever cared for him like that, nor had he ever given himself sincerely to someone else. During his time with the girl, he gradually fell for this plain, simple life. Whenever he was with her, his face always wore an unstoppable smile. So he decided to drop the idea of collecting the debt and stay there to raise the girl. He asked the woman to help him find work, wanting to remain and grow up alongside the girl. Touched by his kindness, the woman agreed right away, and even let them stay in her home for free. From then on, she joined in the girl's upbringing. She recorded videos of their playtime and posted them online, and personally sewed pretty clothes for the girl. Though the girl couldn't see or hear, she could truly feel their love. They thought life could continue peacefully and happily, but the boss's appearance shattered that beautiful time. It turned out the boss had seen the videos the woman shared, and traced the address here. They beat the man up badly, hurling the filthiest insults, saying he violated company rules, and maliciously reminded him he was just a thug. Those words pierced straight through the man's heart. The girl seemed to sense his sadness, and gently blew on his face to soothe him. That small gesture unlocked the man's tears. He had the girl touch the tear at the corner of his eye, and write the word tear in his palm. The girl seemed to sense something but couldn't say it, just gently rested her head against him, signaling he shouldn't leave. The next morning, when the woman opened the door, the room was empty except for a handwritten letter on the floor. After a night's reflection, the man decided to send the girl to an orphanage. Maybe that was the better choice. Before leaving, he bought her favorite bread and a doll, apologizing over and over, then quietly slipped away with his luggage. For the girl, unable to see or choose, it was a long while before she suddenly realized the person she'd already treated as dad was gone. She didn't want bread or the doll. She just wanted her dad to come back to her. She pounded on the window, crying heartbreakingly, and the man, who could never truly abandon her, hadn't gone far. He just stood silently outside, tortured inside. Though they had no blood relation, he already saw the girl as his daughter. In the end, he opened that glass door. When the familiar touch reached her fingertips again, the girl angrily pounded on the man, and he let her, head bowed, weeping uncontrollably. The girl grabbed his hand and wrote "Dad" on it, making the man's eyes well up as he tightly hugged her.